It is not an ending, it is a threshold. Someone walks with a tight chest and noise in their head. They find 7 ancient gestures, practice them in silence, and the night stops biting. Guilt loosens, insomnia yields, relationships can breathe. Today, a new way of inhabiting oneself begins. Less war, more root. That happens now. The wound stops commanding. The heart learns to listen. Life recovers its pulse. This is not magic and not an empty promise. It is practice. It is a wisdom that asks for no temples, only attention. For centuries, monastics and lay people have used it to face pain directly and soften it. It does not demand belief, it invites proof. And when you test it, something arranges itself. So today, 7 interior healing practices are told, born of a tradition that loves silence and lucidity, not to escape the world, but to return to it unchained. Now the journey begins. The scene is simple. A dim room, a chair, a tired body arriving. Outside there is hurry, screens, demands. Inside, a hum of thoughts that will not stop. Healing begins with a tiny gesture, almost invisible, as if someone lights a candle in a cave and discovers the darkness never fought back. It merely waited. First practice, the anchor breath. There is an ocean and there is a rope. The rope is the air going in and out. It is called mindful breathing. Nothing more. An inhale, an exhale, the chest rises, the chest falls. You do not fix it, you do not improve it, you simply attend. The modern world worships shortcuts, but this rope is slow, honest, and deep. Take a moment, spine upright yet kind. Eyes gently closed or half open, one hand on the belly. Follow the air with the curiosity of an explorer discovering a river. At first, the mind jumps. A list, a memory, a fear. Notice and return to the rope. Each return is a muscle growing stronger. Suddenly the body remembers its rhythm and the nervous system starts releasing sirens. You do not chase calm. You offer presence. Breath stops being background noise and becomes a portable home. Practice it anywhere. On the bus, in the hallway at work, just before a hard conversation. A cycle of 5 conscious breaths changes the weather inside. The rope holds in the storm. Common mistakes and antidotes. Trying to breathe perfectly creates tension. Antidote, allow clumsy breath. Forcing depth causes dizziness. Antidote, breathe naturally. Getting distracted is not failure. Every return is the exercise. Second practice, seeing the body as territory, compassionate body scan. The mind tells stories, the body stores them. Walk through the body as you would land after rain. Start at the crown, tingling, warmth, nothing. Name it silently without judgment. Forehead, eyes, jaw, tension, fog, weight. Shoulders, chest, abdomen, hands, legs, feet. You are not trying to relax, you are trying to feel. Healing does not arrive when sensation is denied, but when it is given a seat. A secret appears here. Everything changes. The stab in the neck is not eternal. The pressure in the chest will breathe if you allow it to exist without a fight. This is how you learn the law of what passes. Nothing stays the same. Impermanence becomes medicine. Pain stops being a block and turns into surf. And when it becomes surf, you can ride it. A woman who carried a knot of anxiety in her stomach for months discovered it as heat and pulse. In naming it, it stopped being a monster and became a message. It did not vanish in a day, but it lost the right to rule. That is the alchemy, from threat to information. Common mistakes and antidotes. Chasing a correct sensation breeds frustration. Antidote, open curiosity. Skipping quickly over uncomfortable zones. Antidote, stay 2 more breaths there. Overanalyzing. Antidote, use one simple word and return to feeling. Third practice, kindness, inward and outward. Metta, the cultivation of goodwill. Some wounds do not close because the inner voice is an untiring judge. This practice changes the heart's language. Choose a brief, tender phrase, something you would tell a trembling child. May I be safe. May I be at peace. May I be free from fear. Repeat softly with your breath, first for yourself. At first it sounds fake, it does not matter. You are watering dry ground. The seed will not sprout immediately. Then expand. Bring to mind someone you love, then a neutral person, then, when the soil is ready, someone difficult. Not to justify the unjustifiable, but to deactivate the poison of aversion that poisons your own blood. Kindness is not weakness. It is a sword that does not cut bodies, it cuts chains. A man who could not sleep because of old grudges found that whispering, "May you be at peace," does not erase history, but it grants him a night. Then another. As the inner voice softens, the world stops being an enemy. Healing becomes relationship, with oneself, with others, with everything. Common mistakes and antidotes, using kindness to skip real pain. Antidote, feel first, soften second, turning phrases into a hollow slogan. Antidote, say less and feel more. Choosing the difficult person too soon. Antidote, train with those already easy. Fourth practice, breathe in pain, offer relief. Tonglen, giving and receiving. It is counterintuitive, and that is why it transforms. Imagine suffering, your own or another's, as a dark smoke entering on the inhale. On the exhale, offer clarity and ease as a gentle light. You're not trying to carry the world's sorrow. You're learning to stop running from it. Running hardens, presence softens. Someone in grief practiced this each morning. Inhaled the density of their sadness, exhaled shelter for themselves and for anyone also mourning. In a few days, the grief was still grief, but no longer alone. The practice taught them to give it a place, like setting a chair for a difficult guest and pouring tea. Compassion is not pity, it is lucid closeness. This technique clears the inner air. The three poisons, greed, aversion, ignorance, feed on our contraction. Tonglen leaves them hungry. You learn that opening hurts less than closing. Common mistakes and antidotes, dramatizing and drowning in the smoke. Antidote, brief doses, soft breathing. Thinking you must fix everyone. Antidote, humility, accompany, do not rescue. Forgetting self-care. Antidote, alternate Tonglen with Metta. Fifth practice, walk as if nothing were missing. Walking meditation. Life happens standing, moving. Why meditate only sitting down? Choose a stretch, short or long. Walk slowly, attentive to foot meeting ground, heel, sole, toes. The world turns cinematic, a tree rolling its shoulder, a lengthening shadow, a yawning dog, a lit window. Each step says, I am here. You do not walk to arrive, you walk to be. With this practice, supermarket aisles can become temples, and crossing the street becomes ceremony. The mind learns a more human rhythm, the body thanks you. And anxiety, in love with the future, loses its script because each step only knows the present. Walking like this rewrites your relationship with time. It is no longer a predator, it becomes a companion. Helpful variations. Walk counting 5 steps per inhale and 5 per exhale. Walk noticing the environment with all 5 senses. Walk with gratitude, silently naming 3 things per block. Common mistakes and antidotes. Walking with your phone in hand. Antidote, keep it pocketed. Going too slowly in unsafe places. Antidote, safety first. Turning it into perfectionism. Antidote, a light smile. Sixth practice, remember that everything passes. Contemplation of impermanence and death. This is not morbid. It is liberating. Looking at mortality sharpens gratitude and sets priorities in order. Do it simply. At dawn, remember the day ahead is not infinite. At dusk, thank what was lived, both the gentle and the rough, and let it go. Watch a flower open and close, hold an old photo, let the heart understand that change is not a threat, but a law. In recognizing that all things go, hatred loses sense, haste loses its mask, love gains a voice. In many traditions, a single name is repeated to recall the essential, out in the Christian desert, in Sufi silence, in Hebrew prayer. Here, the passing of time is breathed as a patient teacher. Those who practice this often find courage to ask forgiveness, to say I love you, to begin what is always postponed. Death as a mirror teaches you to choose life. The wound that hurt due to the fantasy of control becomes a doorway through acceptance. Concrete exercises. Write a farewell letter you will not send, only to order the heart. Clear a drawer and give away something you love. Visit a cemetery and walk in quiet gratitude. Common mistakes and antidotes, sinking into sadness without return. Antidote, alternate with metta. Turning it into dry philosophy. Antidote, bring it back to the body, using it to justify apathy. Antidote, follow it immediately with one act of love. Seventh practice, giving as remedy, serving as method. Dana and simple ethics. Inner healing does not stay inside. Generosity is medicine that travels both ways. It is not about grand gestures. Sometimes it is time, an ear, a soup, a call. Giving with no need for applause creates a spacious mind where the self loosens. Alongside it, a minimum ethic. Do not harm, tell the truth, guard your energy, honor the body, respect bonds. Not as frightening commandments, but as agreements that clear the path. Those who practice dana discover their pain becomes more bearable when they participate in easing another's. The world stops being a stage of threats and becomes a net where every act matters. Paradoxically, the personal wound heals faster when it is no longer the center of the universe. Someone in the middle of a divorce began bringing fruit to an elderly neighbor on Sundays. It did not solve the paperwork, but it gave their heart a place to breathe. Service opens windows. Common mistakes and antidotes. Giving to buy approval. Antidote, voluntary anonymity. Giving without limits and burning out. Antidote, rest as part of service. Giving what the other did not ask for. Antidote, ask with humility. Historical interlude. When the flame remains, though the lamp is smashed, in the great monastery of Nalanda, about 1200 years ago, libraries and classrooms burned. From the ashes, texts and practices survived in memory as some fled. Later, during war in Vietnam, some taught breathing amid bombings so that humanity would not be lost. In Himalayan exile, compassion was practiced in canvas tents. In Zen temples of Japan, monks swept courtyards through long winters, each stroke of the broom a meditation. Different geographies, one pulse. These practices resist fires, cross borders, and outlive noises louder than ours. A map to sustain the rhythm. 7 weeks, 1 key per week. Week 1, anchor breath, 2 short sessions a day. A visible signal at home, a small bowl, a stone. Week 2, compassionate body scan, at least once after lunch. Record a single word for any tense area. Week 3, metta. Choose 3 phrases and memorize them. Close the day with kindness toward a neutral person. Week 4, Tonglen. At waking, 5 cycles for yourself, at nightfall, 5 for someone else. Week 5, mindful walking. Transform 1 habitual route. Remove hurry from a hallway. Week 6, impermanence. Bid small moments farewell, thank 3 scenes. Organize 1 drawer. Week 7, dana and ethics. Plan 1 weekly act of service and 1 healthy limit to care for yourself. When you finish, begin again. This spiral does not exhaust itself. Each turn is deeper and gentler. Cognitive judo. When the mind pushes, the body yields. If the mind shouts, I do not have time, answer with 3 breaths and 1 tiny gesture. If it says, this does not work, remember a moment when simply drinking water changed your mood. If it declares, you already failed, write on a piece of paper, I forgive myself for today. The mind runs, the practice does not chase it. It walks beside it until it tires and sits down. A triptych of everyday scenes. Scene 1, an elevator stuck between floors. Before, panic. Now, Hand on the belly, 5 breaths, shoulders dropping a fraction. The technician arrives, but freedom arrived first. Scene 2, an old argument threatening to reignite before fire. Now, silent Metta, may we both be at peace. The phrase does not avoid conflict, but it disarms it. Scene 3, a cold afternoon, a park bench. Before, the phone. Now, a slow walk, 3 leaves gathered. A discreet thank you to the grey sky. You return home with a calm that cannot be bought. When pain returns, because it will, it does not scare as before. You know what to do. It is not about defeating it, it is about accompanying it. Fear, when it has company, loses its teeth. Anxiety, when it has a bench to sit on, stops directing. Sadness, when it receives tea and a blanket, teaches without shouting. Emergency kit for relapses. 1. Slow everything you can for 5 minutes. 2. Feel your feet, drink water, open a window. 3. Name the emotions softly as weather, storm, overcast, dawn. 4. Choose 1 minimum practice, a long exhale or 3 attentive steps. 5. Ask for help if you need it. Healing is also learning to say, I cannot do this alone. A small secular altar, no dogma needed. A candle, a photo, a leaf. That corner reminds you of what matters when the day scatters. The brain loves visible anchors. The heart does too. Lighting the candle lights memory. We return here. Questions that open doors. What bodily sensation appears when I say, this matters to me? What am I defending myself from with so much noise? Where can I be a bit more generous today without exhausting myself? What do I need to release to sleep better tonight? Answers rarely arrive as speeches, they arrive as gestures. Another story, another footprint. Someone who avoided looking their father in the eye for years began by walking mindfully to the lobby of his building. For 1 week, only that. The next week, 5 breaths before pressing the buzzer. In the 3rd, they brought bread. There were awkward silences, there were small tears, there were no spectacular miracles. There was something better, a relationship that stopped freezing. Resentment lost its seat, tenderness found a crack. 7 practices, 7 cracks. Through them, light enters. There is a common enemy, the mind, inertia, and a culture that rewards shine without root. The tradition behind these practices does not aim to crush anything. It proposes lucid rest. You do not believe everything the mind says. You do not fight everything it says. You offer it a seat. When it sits, another intelligence appears, the kind that does not compete. It cares. And when it cares, life is no longer a race. It is a home. 7 practices have been named, but they sing one song. Return. Return from noise to heartbeat, from hardness to tenderness, from idea to experience. The anchor breath teaches you not to drown in the wave. The compassionate scan turns the body into a readable map. Loving kindness softens the inner voice and disarms resentment. Tonglen trains the heart to share the air of pain and relief. Mindful walking makes the ordinary sacred. Contemplating impermanence aligns the compass with what is real. Giving and caring tie the thread of the intimate to the communal. A tiny plan for today. At waking, 3 breaths with a hand on your heart. At midday, name 2 bodily sensations without judgment. At dusk, 1 generous step. Before sleep, 1 long exhale and a may I be at peace. Tomorrow, repeat. Freedom is learned by gentle repetition. And if 1 line can close and open at the same time, let it be this. The wound does not disappear. It learns to sing. Each practice is a note. Together they make a home. If this knowledge kept you company, share it and subscribe to the channel. The deepest revolution fits inside a single breath, and it is served in silence.